going on, Kim?
Hey, Zach, what's going on? Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Happy Wednesday. We're grateful that you all are here with us today. How's the week been?
Crazy busy as always. How's your week?
I am on the tail end of being sick. So if my voice is a little raspy or something, that's why. So my son got it first, and then, of course, I ended up getting sick right there with him. I had it pretty bad. I couldn't walk like 10 steps without getting winded. So I'm glad to finally be on the tail end of it, and to kind of be coming back from it. So
keep your germs on that side of the mic, please.
I don't think you have any risk of catching it from like way over there. So you might be that far away from me, but I think you're safe.
We're good.
I'm looking forward to tonight's show. We're fortunate enough to have our sponsor Wallet with us tonight. So we get to pick their brain and find out more about what they do for drivers. We're going to talk about more and more drivers getting deactivated seemingly without reason or explanation. So we're going to have a conversation about that. Kim and I are going to speculate, and we're going to see what we can make of it. We are going to discuss new payment options for Uber Eats customers and what they mean for drivers. And we might throw in a little bit extra tidbit there about something else they're doing too, if we've got time. We're going to talk about a story about certain people getting accounts that they shouldn't be getting, and a article that went viral, in my opinion, for all the wrong reasons. We're going to talk about if students should be allowed to order to high schools and middle schools and whatnot. So that should be another interesting topic of discussion. We're going to show another crazy order, have a conversation about that. And we're going to talk about a driver who was charged after a little oopsie he had after following the GPS. So we're going to talk about who was in the right, who was in the wrong, and what that all means. So quite a jam-packed show tonight.
I'm so excited. So before we even bring on our guest tonight, Wallet has been our sponsor, and they're going to be our sponsor again tonight for tonight's episode of Money Hungry. Before we bring them on, I'm going to actually play a video describing what Wallet is and how it benefits drivers out there. Without further ado, I am going to put it up and get started.
Meet Wallet. We're a cash advance company trusted by over 90,000 drivers. We help drivers who need cash advances for paying insurance, vehicle maintenance repairs, gas money, and any of your business-related endeavors. We have an extremely fast application process, allowing you to have your money in 24 hours. It's fast, no impact on your credit score, and no credit checks. We approve your application based on cash flow from your rideshare business. Join Wallet today and never worry about being strapped for cash again.
Okay, so without further ado, before I do that, I'm going to actually put up. I know we've been pretty good about this.
We've been better about it. So we would like to thank Marianne for joining us this evening. Why don't we go ahead and bring her up?
Yep. Marianne, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Kim. Hi, Zach. How are you guys doing?
Good. Thank you for coming tonight.
My pleasure to be here.
Why don't you give us a little bit of a background on Wallet, how you guys got started, what it is that you do, and how it can benefit drivers?
Sure thing. So I'm the director of operations for Wallet, and Wallet is a company that began literally as a dream. Like our CEO dreamed about the idea of providing services and advances to independent contractors, drivers, and deliveries. And because they notice the need that the market has, like it's not easy for a delivery or a rideshare to go to the bank and get an advance or get loans and so on and so forward, because first of all, you need to provide a bunch of paperwork. You need to go through credit check. And most of the financial institutions, they do not work with gig workers because of the high risk that they represent. And so we noticed the need on the market, and we created Wallet to serve that particular niche in the market, to provide services for you guys. Something that we noticed, it's also what we came to call the driver, now the delivery paradox. So if something happens to your car or something happens to your bicycle, I've known of people that do delivery using bicycles, and their bicycles have been stolen or something happened to it. You need to stop working. So if you stop working, you stop producing money. So it gets harder for you to get the funds to either get a new bicycle or fix your car. So it's like that sort of paradox. You need to work for pay for the repairs, but you need to pay for the repairs in order to get back on track. So that's when Wallet come and feed the needs of the market by providing that advance that you guys might need to, as the video mentioned, to either pay for repairs or pay for gas or tolls or whatever it might come on your way.
So before we go any further, I see a comment in the chat. The link is in the description, so you can definitely check that out for a discount code. So a paradox is definitely the right word there, because it's kind of that vicious cycle, right? And I've had some situations where I've had something go wrong with the car, and I needed the car to make the money to fix the car. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that. And I think anybody who does gig work long enough will eventually run into a situation that's like, oh crap, what am I supposed to do now?
So a quick question. So what, like, if I am ready and I want to see about getting a loan through Wallet, like what's the process and how does it work for a delivery driver?
So it's not a loan, it's a cash advance.
Sorry. Yeah.
There is slightly difference. And the process, as you're watching the video with the RideShare Guy or Money Hungry, then you will use the code RIDE10. You will go to Google Play or App Store. You will write Wallet, UALETT, download the app, and add the code and complete a profile. So you just need to complete 3 simple steps. One, it's to verify your email, so we can keep open communications with you guys. Then you will need to add your bank account so we can deposit the funds and collect the weekly repayments. And lastly, you will need to verify your ID. It's easy. You just need to add an ID there. Could be a driver license, could be a passport, could be like any state ID that you might have. And that is just to secure that you are who you're saying you are.
Okay.
So you go through the underwriting process, and within 15 minutes, you know if you're approved or not. And for new clients, you get the deal or the funds within 24 hours, maybe less. But if you are a recurring client, you can get the funds as fast as 5 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So
like if you're a recurring client and you're in front of the gas station, you notice that something went wrong with your card, with your credit card, you just need to apply for a cash advance and boom, you will have the money there.
So I had a situation last summer where I got a flat tire and ended up having to replace 2 of my tires. And that cost me $500 or $600 or something. And it left me kind of scrambling to make rent on time, because, like that $500 was supposed to go to rent. So, there's definitely some real benefits to, being able to just click a few buttons and have something at your disposal. So, and you definitely hit the nail on the head with gig workers being underserved. I know drivers who have great credit who have been declined for car loans or, other sort of financial services. So, it's definitely a service that I think could really do a lot of good for a lot of drivers.
We have a couple of questions. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, especially now that as you guys keep talking about it and on the comments as well, the fares for the deliveries are variable. Like every day you wake up to go out and work, and you just do not know what you're going to face now. Like you can find a boost for $5, or then you might be stuck with only $2 per delivery, and depending a lot on the customers willing to tip you guys. So some weeks can be good, some weeks can be bad. And rent is there, paying the lease for the car is there as well. The need to add gas, especially with the increasing prices, is also there. So Wallet is like a fast and secure method for you guys to have those funds in advance, and then just need to make easily comfortable repayments on a weekly basis. So it's not that we're gonna eat out of whatever you do on a weekly basis. It's based on something that you will be able to afford.
Okay. So why don't we go ahead and pop these questions up here, Kim?
Yep. So the first question is, what is your business model and how do you make this work without constraints?
So we are merchant cash advances, which is MCA. And how do we work is that we advance a percentage of your future receivables as a deliveries or drivers, and we charge a flat fee. So it doesn't go up, it doesn't go down. It doesn't matter if you need to reschedule or pay upfront, it will not change. And that's how the business works. So since the beginning, before you accept the cash advance, you will know for how much you have been approved, how much is the fee going to be, and how many weeks you have to repay, which the driver or the delivery can select and how many weeks you want to pay. And you will see the amount for each of the repayments there.
Okay. Kim, do we put the promo code in the description?
Should be.
Yes, I can see it there. It's RIDE10.
RIDE10. Okay.
There you go.
RIDE10. And it's all
You know
capitals,
what? I'm
right?
going to actually put it right now. It's going to be under me, but I'm going to put RIDE10. I'm going to pin it.
Okay. So this one was kind of already answered. But if you want to talk about like the fee a little bit more. So OGIG said, is there a percentage or a transaction fee? Can you elaborate, please?
No, it's just a flat fee based on the amount that you can approve. So,
Okay.
and the fee will depend on the amount that you get approved for which you get approved, and also the amount of weeks in which you want to repay. So you don't need to pay it up front or on your last repayment. How it works is that we split it amongst all of the quotes or all of the pays. Let's say that you select to repay in 10 weeks. We take the flat fee, we divide it among the capital, and then you have a specific amount that will not change every week till you complete the deal.
Okay. All right, cool. And what are your, talk to us about the minimum and the maximum that a driver could receive.
So a minimum right now is $550.
Okay.
And the maximum can go over $2,000.
So we're talking like fix a major problem with your car type of money.
So we have been talking about this with Harry, the RideShare Guy, and on back and forward conversation. And within the realms of what we can advance, it covers every possible need that a driver can have.
I mean, that's even like down payment for a new car.
I'm even saying you can buy a used car, like a really like beat up, used car. You can probably get a good used car for $2,000.
So
a quick story. We had one of our deliveries that he started with a bicycle. I mean, he started with a scooter. Then with the cash advance, he was able to go into a bicycle to escalate, and now he's doing deliveries on a car. Because the more cash advances you take, the higher the amount that you can unlock. So it's like you can unlock a new level. He was able to go from beginning on a scooter to now being doing it on a car, which is more secure for him in the area that he drives.
Nice. There was another question here, Kim. Are you able to put up the one about Dasher Direct?
Oh yeah, actually I think I have it started. Yep.
So what if I use Dasher Direct? Is that something that would be a limiting factor, or it's like
no, like a bank card for Doordash.
It will not. The only thing is that when you're applying, you need to add a bank account because your funds needs to be going into your bank account.
Okay.
So it cannot be used like directly to pay for your credit card or upfront to whatever you're gonna get for delivery.
Well, I guess I think they're trying to say, I mean, I can be completely wrong. Like Dasher Direct actually does have a routing number and a banking number. So it does act as a bank. So I think maybe they're asking if they can use the Dasher Direct as their bank. Maybe that's what their question is.
No, at the current moment. Like we work with bank accounts.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So, and I'm curious, what was the moment where you guys came together and you're like, okay, this idea is going to become a reality?
For me, right, it was during the pandemic. Like we launched in 2018 and we were doing pretty good in business. Rideshare were using us. Deliveries weren't that popular back then. So it was mostly rideshares. But then when the pandemic hits, we start seeing like, wow, we are really doing something major, something important. We are actually changing other people's lives. Because at the beginning, it was like, we're going to provide for a market that it's kind of the underdog when it comes to financial institutions. But when rideshares and deliveries start to activate during the pandemic, like people willing, literally, you guys were called the heroes during pandemic. You were the ones bringing our food. You were the ones delivering our groceries, bringing medications, even taking us to hospitals when we needed to go. So the fact that we were able to still provide for you and cover those basic needs that you guys had during pandemic, even though you were working, it was mind blowing. And the fact that we still getting like these comments from users saying, "You are a lifesaver. I was able to provide for my family this week because of these. I was able to." There were a lot of people that were let go from their businesses, and they wanted to start to do delivery, but they did not have the mediums to do it. Like they need to invest in a car if they didn't have it, or they need to invest on a bicycle. And having all of these people saying, I was able to make it because of the help that you provide, for me, that was the moment in which I said, like, wow, this is real. And we are actually making the change that we said we will be making.
Yeah. Again, I just keep going back to what you said about how gig workers are underserved. And, that is really, really true. Like when it comes to finances and stuff. And, I think that I think a car is what, the second or third most common expense that people will incur in their lives. And so to know that there's a backup plan if something goes sideways. And my car is not the newest kid on the block, and it's not getting any younger. So eventually something major is going to go wrong again. And it's nice to know that there's a backup plan. So
I think there's always a risk in what we do, right? Like there's always a risk in it's not a matter of if something's going to go wrong, it's a matter of when something's going to go wrong. Like it's honestly the amount of driving as a delivery driver you do, like it's inevitable. It's either you're going to get a nail in your tire, you're going to need a new battery, you're going to need brake pads because you're driving so much. Like there's so many things that can go wrong. It's really nice to know that there's, wallet out there that can really help gig workers get back on the road quickly as possible.
And there's always something, because we have the change on the seasons, right? And then the change on the weather. So they are things that you need to take into consideration as a delivery when it is winter, things that you need to take into consideration when we're going to spring, when we're going to summer. Even now that we're through the hurricane season, like to take into consideration, and that you will need to get a chunk of your paycheck of your weekly paycheck in order to be able to cover for it. Now with Wallet, you don't need to do it. It's just small weekly payments. And another thing that I want to mention is that specifically for this market and being underserved, I think there's a lot of human factor that comes into play. Like there are a lot of human situations that might influence the fact that you can work or how much money you can make on a weekly basis, right? But it will not happen if you had a fixed salary or if you need to go to an office and just comply with a schedule. And we also have, and I want to brag about this, we have full staff customer service. So we do not have like AIs or chatbot only dedicated to help you. Like, so you will not just get like the human face when you are trying to get a deal, you will also have it when you need to reschedule or when some situation happens. So we are humans working for humans and understanding human situations that come with this type of work that all of us do.
I love that.
So
We're
I-
humans working for humans.
Yeah. It's so true though if you really think about it. So okay, so I know sorry.
So hopefully there's not a trademark there for that phrase.
So for anybody in the chat, if you are not being respectful, you will be put in timeout. This is our show. And if you're not going to be respectful, you will be timed out.
There you go. So I know your time is valuable and we so appreciate you being here today. So what is like just one last thing like that every gig driver, every, rideshare driver, what is the one thing that they need to know about Wallet?
That we're here for you guys. Go now, download the app. Even if you don't need the cash advance now, it's better have the app there completed and knowing that you can count on us than figure out later. So we're here for you and we are willing to work with you guys. That's it.
That's awesome.
So go ahead, Kim.
No, I was just saying that's awesome. That's it.
The link is in the description. If you think that you're a driver who could benefit from this, definitely check it out, and you can get yourself a discount code. So,
so are you guys on any socials? Obviously, you have your own app, but are you on like Instagram or anything like that they can also follow you?
Yes, we're in Instagram. We're in Facebook. And news, we are soon to be on TikTok as well. So for all of the TikTokers there, hope to see you soon.
Okay, perfect.
Right on. Well, Marian, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to spend some time with us and telling us more about Wallet. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for being our sponsor. We truly appreciate it.
Sure thing, guys. My pleasure. And in the name of Wallet, we are more than glad to sponsor you guys because you are making a difference and an impact on the gig workers there.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Let us know if you need anything, okay?
Sure thing, guys. See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So once again, I just want to say, I know Zach just said it, but the link to Wallet is in the description of this video. So please, if you're interested, go check them out.
So we were sent an article by Sergio, actually, where DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, Instacart drivers more and more are getting deactivated seemingly without cause and without explanation. So, Kim, I mean, we've seen a lot of stories like this. It seems like that's kind of on the rise.
I feel like it is. I feel like we go through waves of this happening, and this is every company. I think this is DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub. I feel like they all go through this. I feel like we go in waves. Like we go through almost like you see deactivation, especially if you follow Reddit, if you're on Facebook groups, like it's like nonstop. You see it, and then you go through a little while, and you're like, oh, okay, and it must have settled down, and then it like ramps up again. So I feel like the media on this one is just kind of catching on, like, oh yeah, this does happen, and like they're now shedding light on something that happens quite frequently in our lives.
So this was picked up by Business Insider this time, and the drivers that they spoke with made a very valid point. The process that the companies follow for deactivation are often unclear, and drivers really don't know what they did. And frequently, when they do find out, it was either a misunderstanding or something that was out of their control entirely.
I personally, sorry, go ahead.
I want to pick on Grubhub for a minute. So even though they've been kind of picking up a little bit in my market, I'm actually seeing more Grubhub offers now than DoorDash because they're not as oversaturated. Yeah. But for a while there, when Grubhub released about a year and a half ago, some crazy account violation policies where you could get deactivated quite literally at no fault of your own. So for months following that, they had their pickup and drop off times 1 minute apart in my market. And I've heard from countless drivers all over the country who are saying the same thing, right? They expect you to be at the restaurant 1 minute and delivering it the next. Anything past that is considered late, right? So if you're 5 minutes past the pickup time, you could be considered like substantially late, and you could get yourself an account violation, and you could risk deactivation. Like, how is that the driver's fault?
It's not. I think a lot of these deactivations, and I'll pick on even Doordash and Uber Eats. A lot of them are just bogus. Like, you don't even know what you did, like, as a driver. And I feel like, especially Doordash, and I'll say Uber Eats too, they send out that email that just, I feel like they label everything lately under fraudulent activity just as an excuse to deactivate drivers. And then you're like, what the heck did I do? And you're baffled, and how do you even fill out a proper form to send to them to contest your deactivation if you don't even know what you did?
For sure.
I don't get it.
And to add to your point there, even if you get enough information to try to fight it, they frequently won't give you everything, right?
No.
Oh, somebody claimed that an order didn't show up. Okay, well, which one? Oh, it was an order from Taco Bell. Okay, well, which order from Taco Bell? I took 4 yesterday. It's like, oh, it was the order from Taco Bell. I can't tell you anymore. So, I mean, they can cut off, potentially our livelihood, our earning source, but they can't tell us what the allegations were so we can try to defend ourselves, right? As drivers, if you're doing it right and you're protecting yourself, you should be taking screenshots of your orders. You should be taking pictures of your delivery address. You should be covering your ass.
I just don't agree with, and this is all 3 of them. I don't agree, and I've never agreed with deactivate first, ask questions later. Like, in any company, any company you work for, I don't care whether it's independent contractor or not, like, it should be, let's investigate it first and then deactivate. Like, I feel like it's just such a act of, aha, I gotcha. And
Yeah.
did you really? Like, you don't even know what happened. You're using AI in a computer to determine the status of my working partnership with you based off of AI and something that you think went wrong. I don't know. I just don't agree.
I know. Yeah, I know tons of drivers who have gotten deactivated who are good drivers. They haven't done anything to deserve it. Can we actually put up, off the handles comment, because it's really quite true in my opinion. I love how all these apps have 90% stick and 10% carrot. It's so lopsided. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, it is the truth.
So now, to the best of my knowledge, there's only one city in the entire country that has done right by drivers with this and actually taken this issue up, and that is Seattle. In Seattle, if you're deactivated, you can actually fight it. And if it's not a legitimate deactivation, chances are pretty good you're getting back on the platform.
That's awesome.
But time and time again, we hear about a driver who did nothing wrong, or suffered some kind of, they were the victim of some sort of a system glitch or something on one of these apps, and they get deactivated. Do us a favor, just a yes or no. Drop it in the comments if you've ever been deactivated from an app. I have, and it was one of those. Yeah, so in my case, I was able to get back on, but I also had a couple resources that some other drivers may not. So it worked out for me, but it was maddening to see, Kim, because it was one of those like runaround type of situations. The gig app was like, contact this company. This company was like, contact the gig app. And I've heard about that. I've heard about that runaround.
Yeah. And, some of it is even like the company's fault, the app's fault, because even for me the other day, I'm like, if I get deactivated over this, I'll know that this is the reason why. I got a $36 catering, like an actual catering, not catering bag, an actual catering order. And I get to the restaurant and it's closed. And I'm like, oh, sure, DoorDash is going to believe me that this restaurant is closed. But they actually got a hold of the owner, and the owner verified that they weren't even open yet, but it was going to take an hour for them to get into the building and to make it. So they actually canceled it for me, which I wasn't expecting them to do. And I got half pay. Okay, great. 20 minutes, 30 minutes goes by. The order now jumps up a lot more money, and it gets sent back to me. So I'm like, what do I do? Do I take it? Do I not take it? So I ended up taking it, thinking, okay, even if I have to wait like 10 more minutes, okay, it's still a really good dollar amount. I get there and they had no recollection of the order whatsoever. And I'm like, if I call again, I'm going to get deactivated because they think that it's going to be fraudulent activity. So I ended up canceling the order altogether. I didn't want to mess with pay. And I'm like, if I get deactivated, it's totally because of this order and they're going to think it's fraudulent.
And, the bitch of that is you're a driver who cares about your acceptance rate.
Yeah.
So if you're going to keep getting that order sent back to you over and over and over and over,
yeah,
how is that our fault? If, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You don't accept it, you're not going to get your top dasher or whatever that you need to get your hours next month. You do accept it, they're going to hit you with fraud for accepting an order that you knew the place was closed. It's ass backwards and it's bullshit.
It is. The funny thing is, once I canceled it, they actually still had me in the system as I still had the order. And someone actually called me from Doordash and actually is like, hi, I see you're still at the restaurant. What the customer wants to know what's taking so long. And it was actually from the catering department of Doordash. And I said, I canceled that order because they still had no recollection. She goes, I just spoke to them. They said it was going to be ready in 5 minutes. And I said, well, I just spoke to them and they didn't even have the order. She goes, I am so sorry. And I said, no offense. I said, but I told her flat out, I'm like, I don't need to be deactivated over this order. So I canceled it. Yeah. And she goes, I understand.
For sure. Can we put up Chandler Rice's comment from 8:30 your time? They said I lied about it being closed. So that's another one, right? You accept an order and you mark it as closed.
Yeah.
That's something that I've heard of getting drivers deactivated too, like a few times.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was worried about with this order because I'm like, I had a claim that it was closed.
Yeah. So now we had kind of briefly talked about this last week or the week before. If you get deactivated from one of these apps, and you're not in Seattle, you still have an option. It's called arbitration. So that is a legal process that is often fought outside of court. Both parties agree to arbitration. You show up and you have a neutral, unbiased party there. You both present evidence. And ultimately, whatever the arbitrator says is basically like a judge's ruling, so to speak. So last week we had talked about a Instacart driver that who got deactivated and took them to arbitration and won $28,000 as a result of taking them to arbitration. So if you earn, a substantial chunk of your income from these apps and they deactivate you without cause, consider it. Consider arbitration.
Yeah.
It'll cost you a lot less in the long run than losing access to the apps.
And it's not like it's not even going to cost you a lawyer. It's just going to cost you the time in order to go through the arbitration. And I think a lot of gig workers, unfortunately, don't utilize the arbitration because we're gig workers. We're working. Like, who has time to stop making money to go work? But if it's something worth fighting for and it's like your number one moneymaker, it just might be something that you might want to consider.
Yeah. So I'm of the opinion that we should never have to guess as gig workers. We should know how far we're going, where we're picking up, where we're dropping off. Oh, I don't know how much we're going to earn. And then if we're deactivated, we have every right to know why, right? No W-2 job is going to pull you into the office and be like, hey, it's just not working out because reasons. Yeah. Right. You're going to know. Well, somebody said you were, shitting in the break room again. Right.
Really?
We caught you. we caught you eating your coworker's muffins out of the fridge again, right? So you're gonna know why you got deactivated or fired, excuse me, from a W-2. So I think that we have the right to the information as well.
It goes back to
So, and then,
transparency.
and then on top of it, if you are deactivated, they should not be allowed to keep your money.
Oh, I feel like
That's what upsets me the most about this.
And like, I think that's I feel like a whole nother topic because I can't tell you, like, I can't understand how that is even legal to do. Like how, and we've talked about this before, and I don't know whether we've talked about this on the show, but Zach, you and I have talked about this before, that when we were talking to Senator Priola, like, he's just like, they did what? So like, he literally was like dumbfounded that a company could actually hold somebody's money. And he even said, and you can quote me if I'm wrong, I think he even said, he's like, how is that even illegal? I said, I don't know. It is just not.
Yeah, he was pretty blown away by several of the things. I've compared gig work to Stockholm Syndrome a couple of times, and we just kind of become desensitized to the bullshit. Right? Don't get me wrong. It's a fantastic opportunity for millions and millions of people, but it comes with a lot of bullshit too.
I feel like you need, and maybe this is just years of doing it, I feel like you need like a roadmap or a navigation, or like Gig Worker for Dummies. We can start our own book. There we go. We can start it like tomorrow.
There you go. We're gonna get rich, and we're gonna like live in Tahiti. That's the answer. Bring your family. I'll bring my people. We'll just be in Tahiti. So anyway, so I want to move on because I'm just gonna get too worked up, and
I feel like this whole episode though we're gonna get worked.
Oh yeah, no, we've got some topics today. So I do want to move into the next one. So there are new payment options rolling out to Uber Eats customers starting late this year or early next year. So customers who are on government food benefits, such as EBT or SNAP, will have the option to place food deliveries on Uber Eats. So this move is expected to provide greater access to food delivery services for low-income households, and basically Uber Eats is following in DoorDash's footsteps. So, Kim, I want to talk to you about what that means for drivers, but I kind of also want to maybe go on a tirade about this one too. So
I'll let you go on your tirade. The reason why we're talking about this, because this was literally all over the news this past week. So I felt like we couldn't not talk about it because it was that important to talk about. Yes, I'm trying to think of all the gig companies that already have this, and I think it's Instacart. I know Spark does, DoorDash does. I think that's the only thing I guess. No, Shipt does not.
I don't think none of the other ones that I'm aware of.
So I hate to say, I feel like it's old news and they're late to the game, but I feel as though like we already know what this entails as a driver if you work for other gig apps. If you don't, and this is new to you for Uber Eats, you're going to learn really quickly what it means to you, but you can go on your tirade now.
Okay. So I just put out a video on RSG about this subject, so go check that out. But do it after this. So we are going to inevitably see a ton of new grocery orders flooding Uber Eats. But is that a good thing? Just one word answer. Yes, no, maybe.
Depends on what the pay is, but I already know what the pay is.
Okay. So and that's my thing too. So when a customer uses a food stamp or EBT card or something like that, they do not have the option to leave a tip for the driver. So, I like that the chat's chiming in. All right. Yeah. Great idea, guys. If you would, let us know in the comments. Good, bad idea. Yes, good, no, bad. So they don't have an option to leave a tip. Now, my thought here is we see this all the time on Spark. Mm-hmm. We see no tip orders that get bonus to the point where it just doesn't make sense for the driver not to take them. So, hey, Thomas, good to see you, man. You've been quiet tonight. So, if they can handle this like Walmart Spark does, where they actually make it worth the driver's time, then yeah, I mean, I think it's a fantastic thing. But the reality is, I don't think we're going to see them doing that. I think that we're going to see a bunch of trip radars popping up all of a sudden with a bunch of, low-paying, shitty shopping orders that nobody wants to take for like $8 or $9.
Trip radars are the worst, I have to tell you. I don't
Trip
even
radars are so bad.
I don't even know why they even exist, to be honest. But I guess they get them delivered. If not, it wouldn't exist. But I honestly hear the trip radar noise and I ignore it because I'm like, I don't even know why I'm looking at it.
So pretty much everybody in the chat almost unanimously agrees that this is a bad thing.
It's a bad thing, but I'm going to say something real quick because I see this whenever I do any kind of video on this, and I'm sure you've seen it in the comments too, Zach. There's always someone who says, like, I need it because I'm disabled and I can't get out and I want to tip, but there's no option to tip. And like, I feel like it's a vicious cycle. So there are people out there and they really do need the benefit of having it delivered. And I think that's where my heart kind of breaks a little bit, but at what expense? I feel like it should come at the expense of these companies that are offering this benefit, not at the expense of the driver.
Again, I mean, if they make sense to take financially, then, do it, obviously. But yeah. I agree. I mean, I think that they should be acceptance rate exempt. So we've seen DoorDash do that here and there with a few of their ridiculous programs. So like their package return and, peer-to-peer delivery, stuff like that. We've seen them exempt acceptance rate. So I'd love to see Uber doing something like that, and where they're like, hey, we understand that these probably pay like shit. So, not that they really penalize for acceptance rate on Uber Eats, but I would love to see it where it just didn't knock it at all if we decline it. Go ahead, Kim.
Now, Cheyenne just said, I wanted to put this trip radar is the most annoying thing ever. I don't even check that most of the time. I feel like we can all relate to that because I'm telling you, I hear that noise go off and I'm like, I'm not even looking at it.
So, all right, trip radar is just cheap advertising for them, right? It's the orders that have gotten declined over and over, and it's cheap advertising. It pops up on everybody's phone at once, and you just sit back and go, okay, who's going to be the dummy?
The only time, though, I will say it works, and this is like a little, I don't want to say it's like a cheat, but the only time it works, say you get a shopping order and you're like, no, it's not enough to do, I'm making this up, even 10 items. You're like, no, but it goes to Trip Radar and they keep upping it because no one will take it. And then the next thing you know, it's like $22 and you're like, okay, now I'll do it. Like, that's the only time I think I've ever done Trip Radar that's worked in the favor of the driver.
Can we put up off the handles comment from 8:43 your time? Because I mean, I so agree with this. So these apps are basically tapping into free government money. We do the work, they get the government money. The base rate invoices should be revealing. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
So I couldn't have articulated that any better myself. So they're also doing something new where they're rolling out their own AI. Now this I kind of have a different perspective on. Yeah. So you can, like on Instacart, you can say, hey, I'm on a new diet, suggest some options for me. And then, it could create a list for you. So I do think that that's cool. But
it's actually really cool because you can actually tell it, I'm making this meatballs tonight, and it'll actually give you a recipe and what you need for the recipe. So that is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. So now Uber is doing something where it'll suggest various dishes as well. But they have something called the on sale aisle coming. So they're going to have, like the all the shit that's on sale and stuff. I think that was pretty. What's that?
So wait, they're going to have a set. Wait, what did you just say? I'm sorry.
They're going to have a section called the on sale aisle as part of their AI. So you can like click a couple buttons and just say, hey, I'm craving this. And it can be like, okay, well, these options are on sale.
Oh, okay.
So you could. Cool.
I guess I
Yeah,
was
right?
putting on my retail hat for like a half a second and thinking like clearance racks and like going into like a store, going through like clearance, trying to find like a needle in a haystack and going, where's this item? Because I know every grocery store has like that clearance section. I'm like, oh no. But sale I get. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. So I'm, and I think I want to say it was Ride Shift Dude, but it was a ways up here. So my apologies if I got this completely wrong. Oh, and Roger Wilco, we are not a charity. 100%. We are not Meals on Wheels. I agree with that completely.
No.
I can't find it quickly, but I think it was Ride Shift that. Damn it! Now this is gonna bug me. Okay. He said something that really resonated too. So my apologies that I didn't get that up there sooner. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Oh, I know what it was. That you can toggle shop and pays on Uber Eats. So that is true on some versions of the app. Now I used to have that feature, but I no longer do. I had looked for that about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that, and I couldn't find it. So they took the option away from me. But some drivers may have the option. Yeah, some drivers may have the option to toggle. So definitely look for that. All right, Kim. Let's do the one that we.
I am ready. I'm ready for this because I did a very detailed video about this week, and it's something that's currently happening in my area. So I am pretty well versed on this. So we're ready. You ready?
So yeah, why don't you go ahead and introduce this topic? Because I'm gonna just pop in here when.
Okay, so the title of the article actually is Uber Eats deliverer warns against illegal workers coming into your home, sniffing at security issue. Now, I'm going to are you good if I give you the whole story? Zach? Or is he there? Okay, I think he froze. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to give you guys the full story because it's more than just workers going into your home and posing as a security issue. So there is a black market, if you guys don't know this, and it might be a Northeast thing, it might be a city thing, but there is a black market for Uber Eats drivers. Here he is. Hold on. Okay,
Sorry.
there you are. It's
My
okay.
Wi-Fi drops
I was
occasionally.
talking to you. I'm like, are you good if I keep going? And you're just like stuck on the screen.
Yeah, sure. I'm good with it. I don't know where you got to. I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said.
I'm getting to the beginning of the story. So there is a black market for Uber Eats drivers, but it's not just Uber Eats drivers. It extends to Doordash and Grubhub too. So what's happening is they're getting people that come in from other countries. They're undocumented, and they are renting and sharing accounts that aren't theirs. They're not being properly vetted. They're not being background checked. And what it is they're basically working 12 hours a day, doing 3 to 5 deliveries per hour because they have quotas. And then at the end of the day, they have to give a percentage of their profits over to these rings that are working in a lot of these cities and areas. And what is happening is they are flooding markets to the point where it's causing oversaturation because they're trying to monopolize markets into taking in all their orders, even the crappy orders, so that way no other drivers get the orders and they capitalize on all the money in that area. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've got an issue with that right off the bat. Like, how is that profitable?
Well, for the ring, it's profitable because they're pocketing all the money. The driver only keeps a percentage of their profits, and then the ring gets all the rest of the money.
So I'm sorry, because I froze, I'm not sure how much of this you read yet.
It's okay. I didn't read much. I was just kind of going through what is kind of happening in markets. I didn't go over what the article said quite yet about people entering in people's homes. That's the part I didn't get to yet.
All right. So I want to get into this, but before I do, I want to make it clear. I'm going to read this from the perspective that the article wrote it. And then we're gonna dive a little deeper into this. So, an Uber Eats driver warns against undocumented workers coming into your home. Significant security issue. So, a Uber Eats delivery driver has raised concerns about some workers using multiple accounts to maximize their earnings and to bypass regulations. These workers are allegedly creating fake accounts and accepting orders from different platforms simultaneously, which is against Uber's policies. Completely ignore that part right there. We'll come back to that too. Such actions can lead to unfair competition amongst drivers and negatively impact other drivers who follow the rules. Okay, you know what? Let's take a pause there. So, in the chat, if you would, why don't you tell us just in a couple words how often you're entering customers' homes as a delivery driver? Often, not often, never. Just a couple words or less if you guys would. So now Kim and I have a very different perspective on this article.
And we have a completely different perspective on this article.
So to be clear, I am frustrated because I feel like this was sloppy journalism that was being used to fearmonger. So now Kim's got a different perspective from her market. So why don't you go ahead and... yeah.
I looked at this article. First of all, I think the title was way off because if you read the article, it goes more into detail about these rings and how they're operating. They were specifically talking about New York City and that undocumented, unvetted, they weren't background check people, especially in New York City, in big cities, are where there's all high-rise apartments. They're getting into people's residences and they're not being properly background checked. And that's the security risk that the title is about. But they go more into detail about these rings and how they're operating in different areas, specifically in New York City, and how they're really monopolizing a lot of these things. So for my area, or my market, I should say, is I went from having a fantastic area, and it's still fantastic, don't get me wrong, but in the past, I'll say couple of months, literally I started seeing more and more and more and more drivers. And we're not talking like, and as a full-time driver, you know who your drivers are. I knew part-time drivers, full-time drivers. We know each other's names. All of a sudden, you start seeing a flood of new drivers. And I'm talking in my small area, 50 to 100 new drivers flooding the area. And you see them getting order after order with 2 phones, sometimes 3 phones. And at first, you're like, what the heck is going on? But I'm still getting orders, so it really doesn't affect me. But it really does affect you in the long run. And it's become a major issue in my area.
So here's the issue that I take with the... Now, I know that we're approaching this from 2 different perspectives, but maybe that's a good thing because we can give people 2 different sides of this to consider. So the thing that frustrates me about this is I feel like this was just a racist tirade that a media company enabled on behalf of one driver that went viral. Does this happen? Yes. Okay. But like, let's be real about it.
But
it's not just
people.
What's that?
They interviewed 3 people in the whole entire thing, like really going after what was happening and how they were working in, the area that they were with different accounts.
Right. But and that's fine and well. But not once in that article did it state that it's not just immigrants who are doing this, right? Like I've seen drivers who were born and raised in like Wisconsin or something, right? Who got deactivated and then signed up, they somehow got a different account and were using that.
I know, but that's not really, to me, that's not what the article is really about. It's more the fact that there's literally one person who's in charge of these rings that are literally flooding markets, and they're literally causing oversaturation to the point where drivers have to leave markets in order to make their money, in order to still survive working these gig apps. And they're purposely doing that to put money in their pockets and literally monopolize a lot of these companies. But I think the bigger picture, and I'm looking at Sergio, is none of these companies are doing anything about it. In the article, the one guy said if they just took pictures every hour, we wouldn't be able to have these rings because we couldn't get back to the person who has the account quick enough in order to keep our money flow going.
Do you want to pull over on the side of the road once an hour to take a selfie?
I hate to say, if it's going to get me more orders, it is what I mean, whatever these companies decide to do. I mean, we're talking like illegal rings happening in a lot of these parts of the country that it's affecting a lot of drivers.
I think if you do it once a week or at the start of every shift, right? I don't have a problem with taking.
If it's at the beginning of the shift, the only thing that the person has to do is go find the original account, take the picture, and then continue working the entire day.
That's a hassle. Right? You'd have to have one person whose location you know at all times, who's available every time you start a shift. So I don't know. I see this differently. But you know what, Kim? I want to jump back to the article itself for a moment. So in the chat, they were kind enough to chime in, and they're never going into people's houses. And the few that said that they have, their experience was like the only time I've entered somebody's house when it was somebody elderly and they needed help. So, it's misleading, right? The article is saying that we could be entering people's homes hundreds, I think it was worded as like hundreds of times a day. First of all, when was the last time you did 100 orders in a day?
And not in a day, but in a week, I'll do 100 orders just on Doordash. But I think they're more geared, in at least the article, I think it's more geared towards New York City, where you are entering in apartment buildings. You're not going into the actual person's apartment, but you're going into the apartment buildings, delivering it right to their door, which then you have to enter in their residence, which are usually coded and usually have a lot of security to get it.
So, okay, but that's something different, right? Like we're talking about getting buzzed into a common area of a building. That doesn't mean that you're actually going to their
apartment. Yeah, you're going to their apartment. It's like a high-rise building. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine and well, but most of these orders are still leave it at the door.
Some of them are. Some of them aren't.
So it's not like the drivers, right? But this article worded it like these dangerous immigrants are going inside people's homes. And that's the issue I took.
I think the bigger issue is not people going, and they made it a bigger issue than what it is. The bigger picture is not going into people's home. The bigger picture are these rings that are operating illegally and causing drivers like you and me not to get orders because they're oversaturating a market.
So, okay. All right. So Kim, why don't we address this from your perspective first, and then we'll address it from my perspective. So you're coming at it from the oversaturation standpoint, right?
Yeah, because I'm living it.
Okay. Oversaturation is a problem almost everywhere.
No, I don't think you understand what these rings are really like until they're literally operating in your own area. It's frustrating. When you see, I'm telling you, not just even 10 drivers on a daily basis, you're seeing an extra 50 to 100 drivers in a small, teeny, tiny area, and you're all trying to fight to get an order. It becomes frustrating, and you see the oversaturation, and you see the frustration of not just you, of all the other drivers in the area. That's the bigger issue, and it's frustrating, and a lot of drivers are going through the same thing. And it took me months, and I've talked to you about this. It has taken me months in research to figure this out, and then this article came out, and I'm like, finally, I know what's happening in my own area, and it's very valid.
So, okay, you're addressing it from the oversaturation standpoint, and I get that, okay? Oversaturation is a problem, and the companies enable it. They don't do anything about it, right? And yeah, I think that all drivers can agree that a selfie check is probably not a bad thing. I don't want to do it every hour, But I don't think that anybody's going to disagree that a selfie
But when
check
you're not
is a
making
problem.
money, would you rather be making money and taking a selfie and making money because you're in an area again that's profitable and the only inconvenience you have is taking a selfie? Or would you rather it to still keep happening and still oversaturation when there could be something be done about it?
So I don't think that this is one of those one person is right and one person is wrong. Your point is perfectly valid here. Right. But so is mine. I don't want to get that thing on the freeway when I'm driving down the road at 70 miles an hour and not be able to get orders because I can't stop on the freeway. So just do it once per shift at the beginning of every shift.
That's not going to do it. I'll be honest. It's not going to do it. You're going to
Then
go
do it.
find that one person and you're going to take a selfie and then they're going to go back and they're going to keep on working on other people's accounts. It's
Okay.
not going to do it.
So what about this then? What if the customers, what if they hand it to me customers got a little pop-up that says, did you get the driver you were expecting?
Then you would you would be putting it on the customer. I don't think any of those companies, because of a customer service perspective, would ever do that.
I understand that, but according to these articles that we're seeing, this is a serious concern for Uber and they're investigating and taking action actively. Right.
I don't think I'll be honest. I don't think any of these companies are actively investigating it because they're getting orders delivered, because they're literally taking 3 to 5 orders per hour and orders are getting delivered. So I think they're turning a blind eye because they're like, what do we care? Orders are getting delivered, not realizing what it's really affecting.
Right. Okay, so your argument is perfectly valid. Now I want to quickly, because we're kind of going over on this subject as well, but I want to quickly address my issue with this. So again, this was written to fearmonger with little to no truth in just little to no truth whatsoever.
What do you mean?
Okay,
No truth
all
in the
right.
article?
When dangerous immigrants are potentially entering your home hundreds of times a day, you tell me how that's true.
But that's not what the whole article is about. That's what the title is, but that's not what the article is
about. And you tell me how many people are going to click on it, read it, and come away with a completely different understanding from what the clickbait title said.
But then, as content creators, we should never do clickbait titles either. In order for us anybody to read to watch our videos. So it's
right,
the same
but this right, but they're the media, right? Like they should be held to a different standard than YouTubers.
Seriously,
they should be.
It's all the same business. It's all about getting people to read their articles based off of what they see. I mean, times you go into YouTube and go click on a video because you're like, oh, really? This is about, and it's about something completely different. And they took one sentence out of their entire video, and that's what their title's about, just to get clicks and views. It's the same thing with a news article, but that's not what the article's really about.
You tell me what's going to be worse, Kim. A message that goes out to the customers that says, hey, did you get the driver you were expecting? Or potentially hundreds of thousands of customers seeing an article that says undocumented immigrants are going to enter your home. Which is going to be worse for public image for drivers in general?
For entering people's homes is the worst thing. That's why they actually went with the title, because they want you to read it. But if you're a delivery driver and this affects you, you're going to read the entire article and go, wow, this isn't what it's about. This is what it's about.
Can we just, we're going to move on here in just a second, unless you've got any more thoughts, but can we put up that most recent comment?
Which one?
9:03 your time. Traveler.
Got it.
So media doesn't fact check anymore. Boy, isn't that the truth.
Yeah, that I'll agree
with.
Mm.
Yeah, and that honestly is what pisses me off to no end. Kim, your points are valid. I understand your perspective and where you're coming from. My thing is the way that they portray drivers. They just don't do the research. So that's ultimately my gripe. Yes, oversaturation is a problem, and you fought your point very well. I'm like,
score.
I know. I'm like, ooh, like I'm feeling the hate on this one. All right.
I'm a good debater when I want to be, Zach.
You are a good debater. Yes. Let's take it to a place a little bit more lighthearted. And this is definitely an audience participation type of topic as well. So, Kim, are you able to read that?
Let me pull it up on my iPad. So, because the screen, I'm like, I don't know about that. Hold on.
So, all right. The topic of this discussion is how long are you willing to wait for orders before you unassign or cancel? So if you guys would leave that in the chat, it could be just a few words, or you could give a more detailed explanation, whatever you ultimately choose to do.
Okay, so I have it. This is
Go ahead.
a post, and this person was asking for advice. So it says, I normally avoid this Five Guys here in Las Vegas, but it was a decent paying trip. I avoid because it seems as if they don't start the order until I arrive. After 15 minutes, I finally get the food, but no shake, and they point to a young man who is working on it. I can see him making it, and then he just stops and answers the phone and starts taking the order. I wait 5 more minutes and he's still on the phone taking the order. So I handed the food back and told them someone else would come get it. Didn't want to be rude, but we have money to make, and sitting at the restaurant for 20 minutes gets in the way of the hustle. So it poses the question, how long are you really willing to wait at a restaurant for your order as a driver? So put it in the chat. How long are you going to wait? Okay. Zach, are you frozen again? I think Zach's frozen again. Okay, so for me personally, oh wait, he's come back in. Okay, you're back.
About that. All right. So, all right, we got a couple of responses here. 15 minutes. I saw one. I will wait an hour if the tip is good from Ride Shift Dude. So I want to probably come back to that comment here in a minute. Blessed to be Bubba Gray, 10 minutes. SB Rides, 0. Okay.
See, my rule of thumb, it's based off the amount of the order or the potential of the order. So normally I'm like a 10, 15-minute girl. If it's like, a regular order, making this up, $6.75 to like $10.75, like I'm like 10, 15 minutes, I'm out. If it is like a catering or a catering bag required order, I'm waiting if I know that there's potential, or I personally know the customer that the order is going to go up.
So for me, I've waited as long as an hour and a half before.
Oh, I've never.
And that was during the lockdowns when it was, and I was mostly on Grubhub. It was super, super common to see $30, $40 orders on
Grubhub was the
Grubhub.
worst during pandemic times.
Oh, yeah. The wait times were atrocious. But if I knew that I was going to make, $40 or $50 for a double, right? Like you bet your ass I'm going to wait an hour and a half for that order. So that was just me. Nowadays, I'm kind of with Ride Shift here. It kind of depends on ultimately how much it's going to pay me in the long run. If it's like a $6 order at some off time, I'll give them 10 minutes and then I'll probably get frustrated and just unassign it. But
like this past weekend, I had a catering bag required from Doordash order. It was showing $17.75 plus, and it was a catering order, and it was a lot. It was a lot of sushi. So I'm like, okay, I'll wait. I ended up waiting 40 minutes, but the payout was $46. So
yeah,
it was worth the wait. So
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times my decisions are based off of how much or the potential I think of the order.
Yeah. So it looks like Richard's got his own formula there, like a full-blown formula. That's awesome.
Let's see, 10 minutes tops for $1.25 per mile, 15 to 20 for $1.75. Oh, okay, that's interesting. You go by $1 per mile. I don't think I've ever heard anybody do that before.
I've never heard that either, but yeah,
it's
pretty smart actually if you think about it.
Yeah.
So
I like
yeah,
that.
ultimately I think that the payout should dictate the wait time. So unfortunately, you don't get more minutes in an hour with a lower paying order. So just make sure you're waiting on orders that are worth your time. And of course, if you're doing earn by time, which in my opinion, I don't think anybody ever should, but if you're doing earn by time, it's not as big of a deal because you're going to get paid for it. But if the order pay, if you start second guessing if you should be waiting there at that point, you probably shouldn't be.
Can we also address that it's Five Guys. So if it's Five Guys, 5 minutes, I'm out.
Ooh, yeah. So
I'm just saying, like, I think we like skipped over the Five Guys part of it. If it's Five Guys, 5 minutes, I'm out.
So Five Guys, I have a higher minimum that I'll go there for. Like I got to see like $9 minimum going like 3 or 4 miles tops.
Yeah. It has to be a pretty good paying order for me to go to Five Guys.
Yeah. So I think everybody in the chat can agree with that probably. So yeah, just a lighthearted topic for us here. Kim, would you take this order?
Oh, oops. Did I skip over it? Sorry.
I think so. That's okay. Did I not put a slide?
Oh,
okay. Maybe I just... Okay.
You want to do this first? And
yeah, let's quickly do this first since we're here.
Okay.
All right. So let us know in the chat, yes or no, if you guys are taking this. It's $68.75. It's going 6.2 miles. It is an Aldi shop and pay order on Doordash. Kim, are you taking this?
Yeah, I'm taking it. $68.
I'm not taking it.
I knew you wouldn't.
I'm not taking it. And that's why you put it in there, Kim. You try to bait me into another fight. Because you knew I wasn't going to take this order. So,
yeah.
All right. Look, so when it comes to shop and pay orders, I get a little nervous when there's a lot of items.
Why?
Because DoorDash doesn't know, DoorDash and Uber and Instacart doesn't know what's in stock and what isn't. So I found that if I'm doing like a shop and pay on those platforms, I have a much higher refund rate than I would on like Spark, for example, when I do a shop and pay on there. So on top of that, they want 82 items. Like again, Kim, we've established that you're a fast shopper and we've established that I'm a slow shopper. That's going to take me like, well, probably 2 hours. So, I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, that's okay. Yeah, I guess I would take it.
I haven't done an Aldi in a couple of weeks, but at least in my DoorDash and Uber Eats in a couple of my supermarkets, they're now showing aisle numbers, which if you know the aisle numbers, you know exactly where it's located. Even me who knows my supermarkets like the back of my hand can zip right in and out. And they've been accurate almost 100% of the time. So I haven't shopped in Aldi since they did that update. So I don't know whether it would pertain to an Aldi, but if it does, well, who cares? $68. I'm doing it regardless.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, now that I'm thinking about how long I presume it would take me, that is actually pretty good money per hour, pretty good dollar per hour. So I probably actually would take this one on second thought. So I probably would have declined it without thinking much about it. But now that I'm actually considering it, I probably would.
Well, if it helps, Kevin says 82 items, forget it.
Yeah. Kevin, I got to respond to you, man. I'm so sorry, dude. I was sick all last week. It's been not a good time here. Okay. So we actually agree on an order for a change here, Kim.
What?
I know. That's crazy. And it's even a shop order. All right. So I want to talk about a driver who messed up and the repercussions that they're facing. So, by the way, do you know how hard it was to find a royalty-free image that matched this story?
It's actually really funny.
It was tough.
Wow.
It was
usually
tough.
Canva's my go-to for all that stuff.
Oh yeah, no, it was tough to find something that worked for this. Anyway, let's get into it. So, charges have been filed against a DoorDash driver who allegedly followed the GPS into a body of water in Massachusetts. So the DoorDash driver was in Middleton, Massachusetts, and drove himself into a body of water after following the GPS directions while making a Dunkin' Donuts delivery. Dunkin' Donuts delivery.
DD, just say DD.
DDD. So the driver fortunately was able to escape the vehicle and walked to a nearby address to call for help. The car was found partially submerged in a body of water and was towed from the scene. The driver will be charged with neglect to operate a motor vehicle, and officials have filed a request to suspend the driver's license. All right. So, guys,
it's
first
harsh.
impressions in the chat. Yes, yes, the charges are justified. No, the charges are not justified. If you guys would share your opinions. Kim, I have almost driven right into flooded roads. We have parts of my county that flood pretty frequently in the winter when we get a ton of rain. And I have almost I've been paying attention, and it's just been dark and not a lot of streetlights. And I found myself almost in the water, like deep water.
I can understand almost reckless driving. I can almost understand, endangerment maybe, but taking someone's driver's license away, I personally think that's really harsh because man, if you're driving late at night and a lot of country roads are dark and there's nothing to go by and you really are following GPS, if that's what he's saying, hopefully we're taking him for face value and that's what happened, but GPS doesn't always get it right. And I honestly could see this easily happening, to be honest with you.
So ultimately, this did happen during the day. So my initial suspicion was this happened at night. But no, this did happen in the middle of the day. The GPS took him down.
I thought it was the night for some reason.
No, it was during the day. It was like just before noon. So the GPS did take him down a dirt road. So I think ultimately, unless we're there and we see kind of exactly where it happened, I think it's hard to draw a fair conclusion, and all we can do is speculate. But
are you going to take a road trip to go do investigative reporting?
No, not over this. Not over this. If I'm going in that direction, I'm going to New England.
For some reason, I thought it was driving at night. If it was driving at night, I would actually almost understand because sometimes these dirt roads, it's hard to see at night. But during the day, how do you not see a river in front of you?
What if you're going around a curve and then it's just like there?
But is that what happened?
We don't know. So my question is, I mean, honestly, I can see him getting some sort of a ticket. But for him to get charged with like reckless, whatever it was, hold on, I got to pull this back up. Neglectful operation of a motor vehicle, and to lose his license, like he had to have mouthed off to the cop or something.
I guess my thing is no one purposely drives their car into a river on purpose, especially a delivery driver, because now you're taking their means of transportation away from making money. So, when I think of taking someone's driver's license away or even something like that, it's for me, they did it on purpose, right? So I don't know. I think it's harsh.
I just wonder if he mouthed off, honestly.
Yeah, it's a good possibility.
So, yeah, I think it's probably a little extreme. So, I mean, like, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. If I'm driving down a dirt road, presumably in the middle of nowhere where there's a freaking swamp, right? I'm going to think, where am I going? And I'm going to be double checking the GPS. So I don't think, obviously you should be
like, but I don't know, my GPS, I don't know about yours, but I feel like everybody's like shows the little blue indicating that there's water, right? So like when you look at a GPS, you go, oh, there's water there. I'm close to the water, at least maybe because I'm by the ocean. I'm like, oh, look, I'm at the coast. Like, I don't know. I can't imagine a map not having some kind of indicator that there's a body of water close to you.
So when I first moved to Washington, I was trying to find this really cool coffee shop right on the water here. And the GPS, I had followed the GPS, and this thing took me completely to the wrong place and like into a really bad area. Like to date, even knowing my market really well now, I do not deliver in this area. So, I mean, screw ups happen, mistakes happen. And if the driver was just following the GPS, I think it's probably a little harsh. Maybe ticket him for something, but I don't know. Taking his license seems a little extreme. Unless, of course, this was like his 5th offense and they're just like, you're a shitty driver. So I don't know. That's my perspective on it. I don't know. Oh, you know what? We did. We did skip a topic, Kim. Sorry. I thought the slides were out of order.
It's okay. Do you want to just save it for next week? Because it's a topic we can cover any week.
I want to. That's up to you. I would like to cover it, but if you want to save it for next week, we can do it next week.
Okay, let's cover it. Let's cover it quickly, and I'll go back.
So,
Hold on.
Okay.
I was ready for funnies. I had it all ready to go. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Let's see. There we go.
So, some parents are livid that teachers are able to order DoorDash and Uber Eats to the schools that they teach at, but their students aren't. In the chat, yes or no, should middle schoolers and high schoolers be allowed to order from delivery services and have it delivered to their school? I'm going with no, Kim.
No. I feel like that's why they have a cafeteria, right? I know cafeteria food isn't all the best thing in the world, but isn't that why that they actually have lunch you can pay for if you don't want to make lunch for your child? And I think that's what this mom is saying. She didn't want to make lunch for her child, which is absolutely fine. Then you know what? Use the cafeteria for them to eat lunch. I don't know. I honestly, I'm not even a big fan of teachers ordering, to be honest with you, just because like I feel like as a parent, I always worry, I'm always safety first of children. So I feel like random people entering in schools, delivering, whether it's a student or teacher, I just feel like it still causes a security risk. Even though it might be small, I still feel like there's a security risk.
Yeah, that's fair. So, and like we were just talking about, there are people using accounts that don't belong to them. Right? Nobody is trying to deny that that's going on. But my concern with this is, and you call me ageist or whatever, but I don't want to deal with people who aren't fully developed yet and who may be looking for a discount on something at my expense. So whenever I see an order that's going to a high school or a middle school, I decline it. I just don't even mess with it. So
yeah, it's a very rare. I never deliver to our high school because I had one horrible experience and I said I will never deliver to the high school again. A mom decided to order her daughter Starbucks for when she got out of school, and I did not know that. So I pull up to the school. I didn't know what time schools were getting let out for high school. I had no idea. And the schools are like letting out the same time I'm trying to get this delivered. And I'm like, and it was handed to me. I'm like, where? So I'm calling and the mom picks up. It's like, oh, it's for my daughter. She's not out of school yet. I'm like, I was so mad.
Yeah, I have been there in just a sea of kids and trying to find the right one. And you'd think, oh, it's going to be the person who's staring at their phone waiting for you to show up. Well, they're high schoolers. They're all staring at their phones. Yeah. So that's no help. So one Karen was freaking out and made a big issue about this, and it blew up on TikTok, which is why we're talking about it. So the schools have banned food delivery services for students, while the teachers are still allowed to order food. The bans are due to concerns about disruptions caused by food delivery, which is a very valid point, in my opinion. Potential health risks associated with outside food, and calling bullshit on that one. And the need to maintain a focused learning environment. So I just wish that schools in general would be like, oh, I just smacked the shit out of an expensive microphone. I'm sorry, Mike. I wish that schools in general were just like, do not order. And I think it's a liability for the drivers ultimately. And that's why I would support us not being able to go.
Yeah.
So, and it seems like most people in the chat agreed with us here. So,
yeah.
Okay, let's do the funnies.
Okay. Who's delivering to this house?
Yeah. So if you're listening to us rather than watching, there's a bunch of creepy ass dolls in this person's yard. But judging by the other shit in the background, I would say that this is probably around Halloween time. So I think that I'd do it.
Why are there dolls holding up a dead body?
Oh, I didn't realize I didn't see that before. That's actually kind of creative. That's funny. I would do it. I would do it. I don't know. I've seen far worse. Like, and when it wasn't necessarily creepy, it was just like disgusting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing that. Are you?
I mean, yeah, I actually think it's more funny than scary, but I'll call it very creative.
I thought it was cool.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, that's a great way to tank the property value of your neighbors across the street, though, if you don't like them. So this is McDonald's. And the thing up top says, "This is why I'm going to work for McDonald's. Hiring $21 an hour."
Who's going to work for McDonald's at $21 an hour?
I make more than that. But I'll tell you what, I'm willing to bet that was probably here in Washington.
That's impressive. I have to say, for McDonald's, that's impressive.
The minimum wage in the Seattle area is like 15 something an hour. So 15, 16 an hour. So wouldn't surprise me if that were in like Seattle or something.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah, but I'm here. Yeah. So I decided to call this one. Thanks for the warning. It's a hand it to me order on DoorDash, and it says, "Warning, we are a naturist household. Nudity is likely on premises most times." Kim, I guess it's that kind of a party.
So do you want to sign when you see that?
So my question is, why is it a freaking hand it to me then?
I know.
There's a difference between nudists and exhibitionists.
You never know what's going to come to the door.
Oh boy. I mean, like sometimes I'll have my son ride with me, right? Like I don't want him to see that. I probably don't even want to see that. What would you do in a situation like this, Kim? I don't know. That just has the potential to go wrong in so many different ways.
I guess pray to God that they take pity on the delivery driver. I don't know.
Yeah, but again, I mean, just do it as a leave it at the door. Like, if you have to start it with warning, then it should be a leave it at the door. Disrespectful people. Anyway, what else we got? Okay, so this is another DoorDash one. This is a leave it at the door this time. It says, "Please bring it to the door through the spooky hallway and up the stairs."
Thanks for the warning.
How spooky?
Like, how spooky is spooky? Is it like pitch black until you get to your door? Like, can I see the door?
Yeah, we talking like sketchy dude with a hood smoking something that smells kind of funny, like staring at you, sketchy? Or are we talking flickering light bulb sketchy? What are we dealing with here?
I don't know. I had a really sketchy delivery for Walmart Spark once, and I'm like, I am never going back to this place ever again.
I've had a couple. I think one of my sketchiest was to a condemned crack motel. Yeah, that was not fun. I think we've got one or two more, right?
I feel like my Walmart orders have been like the sketchiest just because sometimes I don't know, like it's a new area for me and I don't know the areas quite as well as my own area. And I like, yeah, no. Anyway, that's it.
Oh, that was it?
That was it. Bye.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, really? Out of our fantastic episode tonight?
No, I'm just messing around. So, Kim, I had a lot of fun with the show.
It was a lot of fun. You're going down, Zach. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you were trying to bait me, though, with that one order.
It's all in good time.
Guys, we would like to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. We'll be here next week, same time, same place.
Bye, everyone.